Woke up and noticed the alarm clock was blank. I thought maybe it got unplugged. When I got out of bed, turned on the light didn't come on. I realized I lost my power. So I found my cell phone, and it was about 5 a.m. Sunday morning, 4 days before Christmas. I thought, the power will be back on pretty shortly. Decided to jump back in bed and get a couple more hours sleep, wake up, and hopefully the power would be on. Well, I was wrong. Throughout the day we kept checking, trying to see when power was going to be restored. We were finally told that it would be restored 4 days later at 11:30 at night on Christmas. What a time to lose your power when you have all your last minute baking and everything to do. Well, here we are outside, and this is actually 3 days after Christmas. We are going to have a balmy day up to 40 degrees. The sun is shining, it's beautiful, but I thought I'd show you some of the damage. The reason we lost power was a severe ice storm, and then it was followed by snow, some more snow, and some more snow. But right here you can see we've got a lot of limbs down over the creek, and over here huge limbs down, kind of destroying the platform deck. And more over here, we'll have a lot of cleanup to do. And that ice got very heavy, and a lot of the trees gave out. But anyway, I thought I'd reflect on our days without power and water, and say what worked, what didn't work, and maybe get some ideas from you out there on future planning. So here goes. First off, the creek right behind our house came in very, very handy. We went many times to the creek with buckets, filled it up with pretty dirty water, but brought it in and flushed the toilets, which is a wonderful thing. When we lose power, we're on a well and septic system, so we also lose our water and our ability to flush our toilets. But boy, the creek comes in handy, and the only thing I can say is that the snow was pretty high and crusty, and those buckets got heavy when you're hauling them back and forth. Luckily, we didn't have to haul them too far. Once our power was returned, my husband and I met and kind of evaluated our preps to see how we did. I made a little list here. Lighting was great. We have flashlights everywhere. The headlamps worked good for walking around. And the Coleman lanterns are just kind of comforting because they remind you of camping. So lighting was covered, no problem. Well, heat, not so much. We have very high ceilings, a lot of windows, big open spaces in our house. We do have 4 fireplaces, but we have found that they really don't heat the space. Your back might be warm and your front freezing if you're by the fireplace. So anyway, my husband was able to go out quick when we learned we lost power, and he bought 2 My Buddy heaters and the converter cord for the larger propane tanks, because that small cylinder tank that comes with it really doesn't heat for very long. And this was able to keep our media room downstairs okay. By no way was it still toasty. At night we didn't use any heat at all. The first night we were fine with just bedspread and sheets. The second night I added a down comforter. If we would have needed it for the third night, we would have put on sleeping bags that we have that go down to 0 degrees. So really for sleeping we were fine, although the granite floor was very cold when we got up in the morning. Water, no problem in water. We have plenty of water put back, and we use that bottled water to brush our teeth and some minor hygiene tasks. Food, I have plenty of food preps, but we really didn't use them. We were able to get in the car and still drive. So the first night, Sunday, we went out to a sports bar, watched the Lions lose. My husband was very upset they weren't in the playoffs. But we noticed that a lot of people were also there because they lost power, so we all just kind of talked to each other. It was kind of more of a community thing. And it was warm while we ate. So we found ourselves doing that more than using our preps. However, if we would have been iced in,
we would have been fine. One of our Coleman stoves did not work, the other one did. Just to be safe in the future, we bought another Sierra stove and some extra fuel, so we'll be covered. Communications, cell phones, great. We have backup battery chargers and extra batteries, so really we had no problem in that regard. And our radio worked fine in batteries, and I suppose we could have always cranked it if we needed to, but we didn't. So, let's see here. Hygiene. Well, we're on a well and septic system, so we weren't able to take showers, but we were able to get in a car and go to a relative's house and take showers, which was nice. We were able to go out to the creek like I showed and get water to flush the toilets, so that was also very nice. So it really wasn't too bad. Pets, plenty of cat food, we were definitely covered there, and let me tell you, those cats act as a great personal heater, body heater at night. They can help keep you warm. Of course, maybe they were next to us because they were trying to steal our body water to get warm. I'm not sure. Anyway, you know, this is funny, but counteract boredom. When you're used to being so plugged in, you get home, go on YouTube, see what's going on, watch a TV program, whatever, and all of a sudden you can't do that. And you could read a book, but that used up quite a bit of batteries for a flashlight, and I found that my book light didn't work so well. The thing that came in really handy was my Nook. It's backlit. I read an entire 600-page book, enjoyed it immensely, and that worked just great. My son and I decided to get warm and get some entertainment, so one night we went to the movie theater and saw American Hustle, which was hilarious. The first 5 minutes of the comb over for Christian Bale was worth the entire admission of the movie. I highly recommend seeing it if you'd like a good laugh. So we have plenty of board games and cards, but I guess we didn't lose power long enough to have to resort to using them. One thing I hadn't thought of for winter prepping was the chicken water for the chickens. I've always used the heated water. It's very nice. I do have electrical outlets right in the outbuilding here I can plug into. I never have to worry about ice in the chicken water. Well, temperatures going down to 9-10 degrees at night, no electric power meant we had solid ice in the chicken water. So we could boil water on the Coleman stove and keep bringing it out and making sure they had fresh water. But we decided to buy a small camping generator, and that is primarily what we used it for. We also used it for grounding coffee and some other minor tasks. But this way we didn't have to worry about the chickens, because chickens in very cold water need ample supply of water to survive. We do not heat their coop, so that was fine. They weren't all of a sudden accosted by no heat and ice in their water. And they got by just fine. I was a little nervous because I had just put out 10-week-old chicks in the coop, and here it is, you know, 9-10 degrees at night and low 20s during the day while we lost our power. So that's kind of severe for them, but actually they did just great. The one advantage to losing your power in the winter is you don't have to worry about things spoiling in your refrigerator and freezer, because we just packed it up in big rubber totes and put it out on our deck in the snow, and everything in the freezer stayed frozen. Our main upright freezer is always very, very full, and it was no exception this time. It's really packed to the gills. Therefore, all we had to do is keep the door shut, and all of our frozen items were fine. If you don't have as full a capacity in your freezer, it's a good idea to keep jugs of water frozen in there, and that will help you maintain the temperature if you do lose power. So here's some of the good news about it. It was a great opportunity to clean the freezer connected to my refrigerator. I've never done this right at this time of the year if we didn't lose power. On a side note, the prep room organization made items very easy to find. That was very, very nice. The solar charger and solar cooker that we have were useless because We never really saw the sun until finally Christmas Eve afternoon for a couple hours, so that there's no way they would work. Stores sold out of generators and many other supplies within 5 hours of losing power. And there was a period of inactivity. When it's that cold in your house, you really don't feel like doing much. Instead, you kind of get in your little warm cocoon and stay there. So we really didn't get much done. For future preps, just in case something like this happens, we contemplated buying a generator, but it's awfully expensive, and it's only as good as the amount of fuel you have on hand. We could run a natural gas line to it or have a separate propane tank, but we were really trying to figure how often do we use it. Is that the best way to spend our prepping money? Instead, I'm making my husband very happy because we've decided we'll invest in his great find here, a camper that will fit on his truck. It needs work. We're going to have to put some money into it, but in this case it wouldn't take that much to heat it. We could sleep in comfort, and we could cook in it, park it next to the house, and use the toilets and use the creek water to flush it, and we wouldn't be bad off at all. So that's what we're going to do instead of the generator. But we're also thinking of buying the FlowJack, I think it's called Earth Straw, and it's a easier way to access your well water, and it's supposed to be pretty nifty, not that expensive, and it sure would be nice to get our water directly from the well when we lose power. If anybody's using the Earth Straw, I'd love to hear what you think about it. So if you have any other ideas for us, let us know. But all in all, it was a nice prepping exercise, and very glad to have the power back on, and we ended up having a great Christmas. I hope you all did too. This is Prepper Potpourri saying subscribe and share the knowledge. Thank you.